Fritz, HeroQuest is too easy. The game is baby cakes. The heroes win all the time, and if we try to play them as a campaign, they're just awash in gold, and I can't stop them. It's time to unleash the full power of Zargon. Let's explore this from a tactical perspective of defeating, destroying, crushing the heroes in the game. And the first shift, especially if you're coming from an RPG type background where you've been a GM or a dungeon master, or also if your board gaming experiences are co-op games. Now, I love co-op games. I can sit down with you. I can sit down with my friends. We can roll some dice. We can fight hordes of zombies, and we win or lose together. HeroQuest is one versus many. You are there to destroy the players. You are there working to control the monsters. It's not so much a GM-DM thing. It's you're that part of the story. And certainly being an experienced HeroQuest player, you can add in some flavor text. You can have the monsters move around, and you can try to build that RPG experience. But we're breaking this down pure Tactica. Now, let's talk about the resources we have, the resources we don't have, and the core mechanic of the game, independent of the adventures. Now, what you're going to see in each scenario, of course, you have advanced knowledge of the spawns, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers. No spoilers here if you're making your way through the campaign as a hero. The maps, the spells, certain items in the game, you know where they are. And you know certain points are going to be good where, hey, if the heroes engage here, I'm going to have an advantage, or if they engage here, I'm not going to have an advantage. There is a little bit of a shift back and forth. But at its core, the core mechanic of HeroQuest, this is a timed game with a timer. At the start of the game, the heroes are the strongest. At the start of the game, potentially, you are at your weakest. I say potentially because while the map is in place, monsters don't activate, traps don't activate, scenarios don't activate until the heroes engage or draw a line of sight or interact. The players are at their highest health. They've got the most resources. If you're playing as part of a campaign, they're ready to go. As the game continues, the heroes will get weaker, just based on the dice. Even if you play minimal Tactica, they're going to get weaker. You start to get stronger. More monsters come online. More opportunities become available. The map explores out more, and the players have more choices. Sometimes it's the right choice. Sometimes it's the incorrect choice. So what we're trying to do is get them to burn resources faster than they can manage. And the two resources are consumables and essentially your life, your health, your life points, the body points. We want to reduce those to 0. So it's not so much about a final destruction of the players. I think many new players to HeroQuest see this as like a grand battle, and we're going to engage almost like a skirmish game or a war game. And yes, there are boss fights and certainly powerful pieces that you're going to control, but it's more like, let me weaken them. And it's not to say this isn't exciting. Let me weaken the players consistently, constantly, to the point where they can't readily heal, or I've taken them out of the game, and then deliver that final blow. A lot of players try to deliver that final blow too early, and the heroes are still too strong. Okay, so let's jump into what we're looking to do. Outright killing a hero, absolutely, that's the goal. But a secondary goal, or I should say the first goal that then moves to secondary, is you just need to really weaken them. You need to weaken them to the point where they can't be part of the rank and file moving into rooms or actively exploring. You can pull them away, because if they don't have any more consumables, if they can't heal anymore, if their spells are diminished, then from that point forward, they're going to try and hang back. When a new room is discovered, open the door, place some monsters. Normally the party will file in to try and get those attacks before activation of monsters. Instead of 4 of them filing in, maybe there's 3, maybe there's 2. So if I can't eliminate you, can I take you out? The other aspect of I'm trying to do damage to different players is I want them to use their consumables. Now, if we're playing a campaign, they're going to have some ways to heal and ways to buff themselves. If you're not playing in a campaign or they've spent those, the only other way is to search rooms to see what you can find, gold and items. And again, no spoilers. This is the first part of the mechanic that I can control. At the start of the game, the search deck is packed. That first card could be treasure, could be a potion, could be a wandering monster. But as you go through and you get the treasures and the consumables, more and more there's wandering monsters. I want the players, and this isn't as hard as you think, I want the players to actively search, because the wandering monsters that spawn, those are free attacks. Those are free instants on the party. A chance to wound them, a chance to get them to consume more consumables, even if they've found them. So from that perspective, and usually it's not that hard, because, hey, when I'm playing the heroes, this is a dungeon crawler. I want every single last gold piece, every single bag of gem, every single piece of treasure. Absolutely from that perspective. I want it all. So I want to encourage that to search, to find, and utilize those. So we want them to actively search. Now let's talk about the monsters themselves, because ultimately we do need to kill those heroes. And of course, you're going to try and target the weaker heroes. You're going to go for the stronger ones secondary, because I'd rather knock you out than deal with you. But again, that's not always possible, because a smart party, if it's kind of the standard core, will keep the barbarian, the dwarf, or barbarian knight. They'll have the elf, they'll have the wizard in the back. I mean, that's kind of like standard dungeon crawler 101, primary attackers, ranged, and support in the back. So I'm going to target who I can, and if I can target the weaker ones, that's good. So let's talk about monster spawns. Now, there's two kind of classifications of monster spawns. We're getting away from monster types. Certainly some are stronger than others. There's what I call the room spawn and the corridor spawn. The room spawn is exactly that. You open the door and I put down some orcs and they grab their weapons and they charge. Those are direct combat. I don't have a way to maneuver. The heroes are often going to get that first strike on them. They're probably going to kill them. If they don't, I'm going to attack back. What I'm looking for is to just cause some damage. The corridor spawns are the type of monsters that you're walking around a set of rooms or you're peering down a corridor, and at the far end, an orc spawns, a skeleton spawns, undead, something like that, zombie spawn. When they activate, now you have full control over them. No matter where they go on the map, don't charge forward. Keep them alive. Keep them alive to harass the players, to kind of work around from behind. Because remember, you have full knowledge of the dungeon map. So while that monster is active and they can see it, it doesn't become a hidden piece. You can maneuver it into places. You can't go through doors and stuff, of course, if they're not open. But you can maneuver them to places to encourage the party to move where there are more monsters. Or you can kind of park them off to the side, and as the players move deeper into the dungeon, use them to outflank the wizard, to outflank the elf. So these type of corridor monsters are actually very, very powerful. Even if they're just like a lowly goblin that spawned, they are extremely powerful because you now have full control of them. Do not send them running down the corridor. It's going to take a turn or two. They're going to activate. You're going to run down the corridor. The player's going to move up. Barbarian's going to smack it, destroy it. Done. What have you gained? Nothing really. But if I keep it alive and I keep it moving, that's important. The other aspect that I'm looking for, and I say looking for because this depends on the player and this depends on the scenario, I'd like to get the magic users in the party to expend their spells sooner rather than later. And one of the ways I have learned that you can influence that, and I say influence because a smart spellcaster will save it, especially if there's going to be a boss fight or a potential boss fight that they might think of. And the quests do kind of tell you, at the center of this dungeon is a mighty gargoyle, or, this type of knight or this type of wizard or a warlord. So you kind of know something is coming along the way. From that perspective, though, I find if you charge with these kind of corridor monsters, if you can charge a wizard, or you can charge the elf, or you can charge a spellcaster, they will use spells because they're like, I have to defeat this because my normal attacks are so low. If I can get you to expend 1 or 2 spells, then that's good. The final piece, circling back around, and then I'm going to open it up to my fellow overlords for some ideas. Be aggressive. Be ruthless. Be decisive. You're there as a player. You're there not as the dungeon master or the game master. You're there to beat your friends. You're there to triumph over them and destroy them for their arrogance to try and stop the grand machinations of Zargon. So being fair about it, being cool about it, not being a total jerk about it, but really, really aggressively playing and utilizing all the resources that you have. And definitely as you do that and you look at it as more of a tactical approach, certain missions are easier for the heroes to win, but even those, there is a very, very good chance of defeat. And I've had the great fortune over the years playing HeroQuest, and we have revisited many of the scenarios, and there's a ton of custom scenarios out there, truly in the archives and stuff that you could play a new scenario every week, and that'll literally take you like a year and a half. It's crazy, even longer with what's out there, and of course the X packs and expansions coming. But I say that because even being an experienced HeroQuest player, I've played against other players, with them controlling Zargon. And there's tactics going on. There is definitive tactics going on for the game. And a good Zargon player can really, really challenge you. So aspire to that. Now, next vlog posting up, I feel like we do have to talk about the character classes. It's only fair to look at their contributions and how they'll play through the dungeon, and kind of some of the ideas to keep in mind when playing them, and some of the things to avoid playing them, to at least not make the scenario, to at least not make the job for Zargon easy.